Good morning. I'm Michael Gardner, a worship associate here at the church with pronouns he, him, and his. Today's call to worship is adapted from lyrics to a song by the jug band musician John Sebastian. And as an act of mercy towards you, I'm going to do my best to try not to sing as part of it. Well, the caveman carried the wood to the fire and never gave a thought to sending power through a wire. He raised up his head and he winced from pain and said, "Lord, have mercy, I'm a link in the chain, just another link in the chain. I'll pass this world on to my daughters and sons, just another link in the chain." Now the whale, he sings at the bottom of the sea, but he comes up to breathe, just like you and like me. When he meets the whaler with the deadly aim, I wish he could speak right up in a voice so plain and cry, "Don't kill me, I'm a link in the chain, just another link in the chain." Now it's the same in this world as inside you and I. The little cells live and the little cells die. They pass information down to the next in line, trying to keep the chain together till the end of time. And the one at the end learns everybody's song, and he makes another link and passes it along. Just another link in the chain. I'll pass this world on to my daughters and sons, just another link in the chain. Come, let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit and join voices in singing hymn number 318, "We Would Be One." standing while Doug and Lois light our chalice and remain standing for the doxology.
Let this flame be to us a symbol of the wholeness we seek.
Its brightness is spelling gloom, lighting a path to faith and hope.
Its glow reminding us of the sacred bonds that link us to all living things.
Its radiance calling us to cast the light of freedom, justice, and peace upon the whole world.
Please be seated.
Good morning. I'm Mr. Lynn Marples. If you miss my pronouns, I hang up on your phone calls and your junk mail goes right to recycling. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, for this hour, you are part of this congregation and you are welcome here. As a congregation, we gratefully acknowledge the Patuxet Wampanoag people on whose ancestral lands we gather today. We commit to support and honor their history and culture. After service, we invite all to join us in the coffee hour. Reach through the door to your right. If you are a visitor, we encourage you to pick up a red cup so that you get a warm First Parish welcome. And our announcements. Tomorrow morning, we will host a Memorial Day service at 11:15 a.m., which follows the parade from Hall's Corner. Every Tuesday, a team of volunteers have been putting together 20 sandwiches along with other healthy foods, which Bob Hughes has been distributing to homeless and other down and out people in Plymouth. We have been doing this for several years, including throughout the summer. The Social Justice Committee is seeking to recruit additional volunteers to help with the sandwich making a few times during the year. The more volunteers we have, the lighter the workload for everyone. And this morning, during coffee hour, Jean Penven from Social Justice will have a table set up to display the type of sandwich we make and to speak to anyone who would like to learn more about the effort and perhaps to try out volunteering. Please stop by and say hello to Jeannie and learn more about this outreach effort to some of our most in need neighbors. Don't forget that next week, our worship service at the normal time of 10 will be followed immediately by our spring annual program meeting. This is a very important meeting where, among other things, we elect officers for the next church year and make appointments to the many committees that help with the work of this church. Finally, our summer fair the largest fundraiser of the year, lots of fun, not so much D, will be held on Saturday, June 14th. The sign-up sheets for the various activities are available on the big table in the parlor. Please consider signing up for anything that you might be interested in. It's a lot of fun. And if you have any questions about how you can help, you can speak with the great triumvirate of our fair, Jim Hamilton, Tracy Wagner, or Jay Bray. That ends the announcements. It's time to sing our children out. I don't see a whole lot of children. But anyway, please join with me. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. I invite you now to join with me in reading responsively number 720 in the gray hymnal. I will read the normal print. You get to respond with the italicized print. We remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of sun, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost, just like our, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live. They are now part of ourselves, and we remember them.
The lifeblood of this church is made up from many components. They include faith, commitment, service, and money. Please join now in our offertory portion of the service, where your gifts will be gratefully received.
Our first reading is entitled Facing It. It was written by Yusef Komenkayaka. It was written in response to visiting the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. If you haven't, please, when you go, remember my brother in arms, Captain Phil Waters of Edina, Minnesota, 35W30. This poem imagines a fallen soldier entombed within the monument, which he sometimes sees as a black mirror. Facing it. My black face fades, hiding inside the black granite. I said I wouldn't, damn it. No tears. I'm stone. I'm flesh. My clouded reflection eyes me like a bird of prey, the profile of night slanted against morning. I turn this way, the stone lets me go. I turn that way, I'm inside the Vietnam Veterans Memorial again, depending on the light to make a difference. I go down the 58,022 names, half expecting to find my own in letters like smoke. I touch the name Andrew Johnson. I see the booby trap's white flash. Names shimmer on a woman's blouse, but when she walks away, the names stay on the wall. Brush strokes flash, a red bird's wings cutting across my stare. The sky, a plane in the sky. A white vet's image floats closer to me, then his pale eyes look through mine. I'm a window. He's lost his right arm inside the stone. In the black mirror, a woman's trying to erase names. No, she's brushing a boy's hair.
Please join in the spirit of prayer, meditation, or contemplation. May the creative spirit, the spark which inspires all life, guide us as we remember and honor those who have trod this path before us, those who have nurtured and cared for us, those who have shared their love and devotion with us, those who gave us life, and all those who made their lives possible. Links in the precious chain of life and love. May we also tenderly remember those who have sacrificed through service, through pain, through loss of life, who sacrificed in the name of freedom and justice and their best understanding of the common good. May the creative spirit inspire us towards forgiveness, towards those who may have borne us ill will, for those we once called enemy, and those we may yet so name again. As we strive to understand and experience the common humanity binding humans of all nations, all regions, all faiths. May we rededicate ourselves to peace, to justice, to liberty, so that the dead of America's wars never grow in numbers again, but grow only in our hearts, with increased appreciation, gratitude, and love. In the name of all that is holy, may they and all our loved ones never be forgotten. Please pause now for a few minutes to remember a few or many who inspired and nurtured you on your path to fulfillment in this, our brief, bright May morning of life on earth. May these thoughts and prayers take flight on the wings of love. Amen.
The second reading is a poem entitled Our Memories by Lenore Hetrick. If we remember those who are gone, they will live again. They are here once more. They smile and speak, just as do living men. So let us give our thoughts to the brave upon this Memorial Day. In spiritual fellowship, let us speak and listen to what they say. For a soldier who died for his country must know much that he could tell. And if we caught the message, it might serve us oft and well. So in our memories, let the dead linger often and long. Recollections of that kind live and are like a springtime song.
My thanks to the Worship Music Committee, Reverend Susan, and the congregation for giving me this opportunity. It is a great privilege to speak to you from this hallowed pulpit. I've spoken in the past about the twisted and bloody roots of Memorial Day, which in the North used to be called Decoration Day. Today, I'd like to talk more about this day's connection to memory and legacy. I liked the changed Memorial Day. Decorating the graves is sacred, but the day is really about remembering, honoring those we have lost, the soldiers, and also those beloveds we've held dear, those now beyond our physical touch and embrace. Years ago, the singer-songwriter Paul Simon sang, "Preserve your photographs, they're all that's left you." He was right about the importance of photographs, but perhaps he missed a larger point made by our former minister, Reverend Dr. Catherine Cullen. At memorial services, she often said that death ends a life, but not a relationship. Our relationships with the deceased endure, fed by the power of our memories. Photographs help, but mostly to enrich our memories. It's the memories that matter. We remember them. This morning, I'd like to speak about two levels of memory, which I'll call the micro and the macro. Micro memories are how we remember departed family and friends as individuals, and importantly, how family and friends will remember us after we are gone. Macro memories are more about the generations, about what each generation has done in its time on earth. Micro memories focus on our lives together, the stories, the games, the meals, the trips we all shared, the conversations we had, and the conversations we overheard, photos and videos, the minutiae of daily life. These are touchstones by which we remember and will be remembered among family and friends. The importance of micro memories resonates with me because I did not do a very good job of learning more about my parents' lives and other loved ones when I had the chance. I ask your indulgence while I briefly tell a piece of my story. Both my parents died when I was in my mid-20s. Then I did not fully appreciate what questions I would have now, questions that are far too late to ask. And there were a lot of questions, partly because there were things we didn't talk much about. I never knew my biological father, but I've always been okay with that. He had been dating my mother's youngest sister before his brief liaison with my mom, and I think he was back with that sister before I was born, marrying her shortly thereafter. This caused a rift in the family that took years to heal. The mid-1940s were not an easy time for us to be a single mom with an infant. There was no daycare or child care industry. On her own, my mom had to rely on a network of friends to care for me. She stayed in a downtown rooming house, working full-time in a factory building fishing reels, and until kindergarten, I boarded out with a series of couples, seeing Mom mostly on weekends. Some of these kind souls are just names to me now. I have no memory of them. But one couple stands out. For my first 18 months, I lived with Paul and Marguerite, an older childless couple with hearts of gold. They had been my mom's next-door neighbors when she was in an abusive first marriage. I'm told I started to call Marguerite Mama, but was quickly corrected, and she was known to me forever as Nana. With an inborn sense of symmetry, I called her husband Paul Paul. They and my mother remained fast friends even after I was moved somewhere else, and we visited them often. They really spoiled me, and I really, really loved them. Alas, Nana died when I was 9. After bouncing around, including living for a time with a couple I called Mama Junie and Daddy Barney, my mom and I finally began to live together full-time when I started kindergarten. We took room and board in the house of a couple of my mom's friends who I called Aunt Mabel and Uncle Max. Mom still built fishing reels, and since she left before I got up, she wrote me a note every morning, which I read while eating the breakfast Aunt Mabel made for me. What I understand now, but I didn't appreciate soon enough, was how remarkable, strong, and resilient my mother was, and how lucky I was that she had such good judgment to put me in the care of such kind and loving people. I wish I knew so much more about her and her life before my kindergarten days. And who were these people that I lived with? Why were they willing to take me on at whatever age? And for how long? These are important persons in my life, and their stories are now gone. The same is true for Nana and Paul Paul, but with a twist worthy of Charles Dickens. Within a year of Nana's death, Paul, who was 20 years older than my mom, started seeing her, and within a few months, they were married. As quickly as he could, he adopted me, and with the wave of a judge's pen, I had a real dad. I stopped being Floyd Michael Lewis and became Michael Paul Gardner. That marriage was one of the great gifts of my life. Even as a little kid, I had a sense of what a devoted husband Paul Paul had been to Nana. He was just as much a devoted and loving husband and father to my mother and me. We were blessed. But now, today, there is a hunger to know more about these three wonderful persons. Who are Nana's parents? How many siblings did she have? How did she meet Paul? When did they marry? When did they move into the house that I mostly grew up in? Who were the other children, probably nieces and nephews, they helped raise before me? For I have hints that there were some. When did my dad start working at Goodyear? What did he do before that? Why didn't he own a car until 1956? Of the lives of my mom, my dad, and Nana, I know maybe 20% of what I wish I knew. These are missing links in the chain that came before me. So, the point of all this is a plea to you, that you share more with your kids and grandkids about who you are, who you have been, what you have done, how your lives have been shaped. And this is also a plea to those of you who still have parents and grandparents you can talk to. Talk to them. Project out to the years ahead to imagine why and what you might wish to know. Things that, within the busyness of your young lives, you haven't thought to ask yet. Ask. And here's another tip. One of the most rewarding ways for people to share something of their lives, even when the younger generation might not be all that interested, is through participating in a memoirs group. I was lucky enough to participate in such a group at FPC that was organized by the late Jackie Smith Miller. The format was simple and ingenious. Rather than try to write one's life story from beginning to present, the group would pick a bite-sized topic which could be covered in a few pages. We'd write it up for the next month's meeting. Then those who wished could read their vignette to the group, who would listen without comment or criticism. We drew our topics from a list or made them up ourselves. People took the topics and then ran with it in many different directions. These writings were creative acts of recreation. Topics that drew out interesting stories included subjects like my first job, shoes, clocks, cemeteries, a Christmas memory. When the subject was jewelry, someone wrote about discovering that their mother had stored all her best jewelry in her kitchen oven. Lindy Banks, a longtime congregant, now gone, was a regular participant. When she decided to retire from the group, she had all her writings bound in a booklet or binder and had copies made for her family. It is hard to imagine a better gift. I understand from Susan Taylor that there is a memoirs group meeting at the Duxbury Senior Center. That might be worth exploring. I've been thinking of trying to restart a group here at the church this fall, but either that or Ginny Marconi has been experimenting with a writing group that might serve a similar purpose for those interested. If anyone would like to learn more, please be in touch with one of us. Can't imagine how many times I practiced having this with me. There's another way to help organize and record such memories on your own. Recently, one of my daughters gave me a small book entitled, "Dad, I Want to Hear Your Story." It has many varied and thought-provoking questions and space to write the answers. It's like the reverse of the baby books new parents are encouraged to complete. It's an excellent exercise with a valuable product at the end. That's the micro. Now, let's move on to the macro or generational level of memory. How will our generation, all the generations represented here, be remembered? What will be the shorthand version of our legacies? This kind of macro thinking may have been popularized by Tom Brokaw's veneration of what he called the greatest generation, who endured the Great Depression, fought and won World War II, and helped create decades of relative prosperity. These were our parents and grandparents, and though their legacy might be more mixed than Brokaw might have said, they rose to most of the challenges they faced. My macro question is, how will we, the next few generations, children of World War II, the baby boomers, and the generations beyond, how will we be remembered? What can we still do to enhance our places in history? As with most of life, our legacies so far are mixed, but there have been some shining lights. Those of us born from the mid-1930s on saw, and in many cases participated in, some of the most remarkable and uplifting transformations ever achieved in the history of America. Legal government-enforced segregation of the races was finally abolished, spurred on by activists, black and white, many in their 20s, who had the courage to stand up to entrenched power. The hunger for fairness and equality sparked by that civil rights movement helped encourage other peoples who were oppressed, women, LGBTQ+ persons, the differently abled, the indigenous, the foreign-born, the poor, to demand, and with varying degrees of success, win their own rights to freedom, equality, and respect. All the gains achieved over the past 65 years in this social transformation have been partial, incomplete, and imperfect, but the gains remain under attack. But the gains have been real and have made America a more beautiful place. During our time, the most extreme levels of poverty and infant mortality in the world have been greatly reduced, and thanks to science, technology, and intentional effort, health and well-being have significantly increased worldwide. On the great questions of war and peace, I think our generations have mostly been on the right side of history. Atom bombs and H-bombs were developed earlier, but we've avoided the temptation to use them or engage in massive land wars across entire continents for nearly 80 years. Given what might have been, this is remarkable. It was the old men of the greatest generation that put M16s in the hands of my generation to kill and fight in places like Pleiku, Khe Sanh, and Hue, with catastrophic results for all sides, winners and losers. Hopefully, we've learned something from that. Those of us who opposed the Vietnam War also now, hopefully, better understand the too real, the too horrible sacrifices made by those who chose or were forced to fight. We owe them our compassion and respect. Then there is the other indelible bloodstain on our generation, baby boomer George W. Bush's war of choice against the people of Iraq. There's plenty of blame to go around for that abomination, but it doesn't rest on the soldiers themselves. Here's a note of caution for those tempted to lead our youth into future wars of choice. It's been 50 years since the fall of Saigon, and lo, Vietnam is now one of our leading trading partners. Things have changed. Oh, and in another 50 years, or even sooner, much of the land where all that blood was shed will likely be underwater due to rising seas. The earth giveth, the earth taketh away. I suspect that one of the most horrific legacies of our generations represented in the sanctuary today will be our failure to effectively deal with global warming while we still had the chance. It's easy to imagine the books written not long from now about how our willful blindness, our greed, our institutional and political paralysis and intransigence led to a new world whose harshness and cruelty we cannot now imagine. Is it too late? Who knows? But that's no reason not to try to preserve something of the bounty we've enjoyed to pass on to our children's children's children and all the other links in the chain. Then there is that other challenge facing us, which if we successfully meet it, might go far to redeem our legacy. Consider the present threats to our democracy, our liberty, and the institutions that have helped preserve our well-being, our safety, our prosperity since World War II. These threats seem almost existential. They require a response. We will be remembered by how effectively we respond. There have been dark days before, like Woodrow Wilson's imprisonment of all those who opposed his policies during World War I, but those assaults had nothing like the breadth, intensity, and sadistic cruelty that we've been facing in recent days. To me, nonviolent resistance is required. Trashing Teslas, burning buildings, or worse, is both self-indulgent and counterproductive. Peaceful demonstrations, boycotts, may be targeted civil disobedience, enlightened political action all have rules. So far, upholding the rule of law through the courts seems to have been the most successful route taken, though just this past week, the House of Representatives voted to strip the judiciary of its power to curb executive abuse. Our final hymn speaks of seeking liberty in law. So, and so we must, but that means we must resist passage of laws that take away our liberty. That means political action, financial support for litigation focused on curbing the abuses, and support for those institutions that have chosen to fight back. The great thing about the future is that it is not predetermined. Within limits, it remains a complete unknown. For many of us, the idea of America, our values, what this country stands for, what it means to the world, all this has turned more ugly in the past few months. But we can change that. We can make America more beautiful again. To do so, we must be creative. There are lots of ideas out there. Explore them. We are stronger when we work together. Don't give up, and don't give in to despair. This may be our rendezvous with destiny. May we meet the challenge. May it be so. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our final hymn found in the insert to your order of service, a poem by Catherine Lee Bates, put to the music of a 19th century hymn. As we leave this place, let us remember all that is beautiful, all that we value about America. Let us remember all those who sacrificed, even to the death, to protect us, our country, our values. And let us remember the family, the friends, the teachers, the mentors, and all those who have helped us to grow and flourish. For they are all links in the chains that have made us and who we are possible. May we remember and honor them always. Please be seated.
I invite our ushers to come forward as we extinguish the chalice and ask you to join with me in reading the words of Elizabeth Sell Jones, printed in the order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Go now in peace, and may the spirit of love surround you now and in the days ahead.